The Ash, Luttsy and Susie Snackbox.
I went to the netball yesterday, so I was gone for quite a few hours. I had lunch. I visited my parents, actually. I had such a good day yesterday. My parents still live in the same house I've lived at since 1979.
Wow.
And it's at Robertson, but it's really changed. So then we went, the area's changed, and now it's really Asian, which is great for restaurants. So after we visited them, we went to an awesome Chinese, I suppose it was, restaurant. Such good value. I love that red. What is that red they put on their? What is the red they put on their pork and chicken?
MSG.
Sweet.
Anyway,
I don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
what is that?
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Did you go the crispy sweet and sour pork? Was it like,
No, I went
the battered-
barbecue pork and rice with cabbage, and it looks red.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tea, the hot tea in the plastic cups, and the hot water in the plastic cups, and you're in and out in like 2. Oh, it's very good service, delicious. Anyway, that's not part of my story. I was out all day. Is now. And when I got home, Cliff was at home by himself, and he does a lot of deep dives about things that interest him. You know, he's really into YouTube. He goes into that. I don't do much YouTube stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on this exclusive YouTube at this,
Really?
at this
Me
point.
too.
Yeah.
I haven't jumped over to that because my kids, that's the main thing they watch.
Yeah, same here.
They don't watch TV. But
He famously does it at night when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah, well, that's another story, isn't it? I mean, last night, if I could go into a story about that, but I won't. Anyway, not
Point
enough.
made.
Point made.
If you're
Thank
listening,
you.
Cliff.
Yeah.
You'll be listening.
But I got home and he's really getting into DJs now.
Come on.
Really?
After my DJ set, like he had his boyfriends over on Friday night. He's so cute. And he was showing them all my DJ. He goes, look at Sue's DJing. And he got it, because you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, with the full, you can see the full DJ set, the Boiler Room, on our YouTube
true.
channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So that's pretty funny. So then through that, I think he started to Google boiler rooms and DJs. And he got home. When I got home, he got me to watch all this stuff, and it was really good. It was Fred again.
This guy's a juggernaut.
He's the guy that
Really
came
is.
back. Was it this year or last year? And he had the concert at the Spit. Remember at the end of the Spit, and
yeah,
it was
that was
crazy.
huge.
There was more people at that than there was at some festival. A bit later. Like, was there 30,000 out there on the Spit?
Yeah, I think it was over 30,000, I think.
And he
Yeah.
announces it just before and all that sort of business, right?
Yeah.
Pop-up shows.
Yeah.
He does.
Pop up, and we're watching the Boiler Room. Oh my God, it's really good music. It's
Fred again's unreal.
It's relaxing, sort of like everyone was it was like a trance. Everyone was just sort of dancing in the same thing. He's really on such a high.
This is Fred again.
The funny thing was though, when he was doing his Boiler Room, when I did the Boiler Room, I had a big sort of fence around me, and I had a lot of space just to myself. He is literally at the decks, and everyone is dancing.
Yeah, you see that?
Have you seen that
I
around
have seen
him?
that. That would annoy the hell
I
out of
don't
me.
know how he does it. There was one guy who came up and was dancing next to him, like this.
Yeah.
He didn't look cool, but it looked fun. He looked,
You had a mini boxing ring essentially around you.
yeah, I had a mini boxing ring.
Yeah.
Whereas he had this one guy who was he was kind of daggy dancing, and then this guy hit with his elbow the off button on the DJ set
Yeah, right.
Really?
and turned off all the music like that.
And he had to turn it back on.
Yeah.
Wait, it looks like that could happen, or someone could spill a drink. Like you see
Yeah.
I do see that on.
I couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
But Fred again, then we went down watching YouTube things on him. Follow him. It made London look beautiful. He talked about how during COVID they used to do these pop-up DJ events on the Thames, whatever, in London, and just all get together and stuff. And I think DJing really took off around COVID. Do you reckon? Or are we just noticing it now? I feel like boiler rooms and DJ sets.
I think those online things like YouTube clips.
Yeah. Even Jolly on Pex, that's when he took off, right?
Yeah, there's some local
Yeah.
guys. There's a
COVID.
guy that does it in Brisbane. I'll try and get his name, but he must see himself up in a balcony or a rooftop somewhere in Brisbane with the sunset and Mount Cootha.
Yeah.
And he has some really cool lighting, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think that probably took off a bit more in COVID because people were obviously restricted to their
Yeah, hanging out
apartments or
at
whatever.
home and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But check him out, Fred again on YouTube.
He's not just a DJ. He's produced some of the biggest songs in the world.
he?
Yeah. He's worked like pretty exclusively with Ed Sheeran. I'll play one of the songs that
Yeah.
you'd know that he's worked on. So Ed works with Fred again for like the beats and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
he's
If you watch the Ed Sheeran documentary on Apple, Fred again's pretty a part of it.
That reminds me, that's the other thing he was doing when he was DJing. He wasn't just standing there and dancing like some DJs might do, such as myself.
Not pressing buttons.
Such as myself. He was playing the drums on his doing loops. You know how Ed Sheeran does loops?
Yep.
Do you reckon he taught Ed Sheeran the loop thing?
I don't know. Ed's been doing that since he started.
Oh,
but they work really well together. Like massive songs. He's worked on Trustfall with Pink, Eyes Closed, done tracks with Labyrinth.
He's English, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Ash, Luttsy and Susie Snackbox.
Yeah, I had an amazing weekend. I went down to Grafton, or just near Grafton, a little town outside of Grafton, on the river there, and had a reunion with my rowing crew from grade 12, and we all stayed at our coach's house, who was a teacher at our school.
Does it seem like ages are closer now? Like when I run into teachers now,
Yeah.
they used to be really old when I was at school, but now they're kind of similar-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was bizarre in the sense that we worked that out, that Isla Lee, who was our rowing coach, who's a great athlete, by the way, Suze, went to the Montreal Olympics, the Moscow Olympics. He won 14 national titles as a rower.
As a single scull.
In all different different areas, but incredible athlete in his own right. But he was our coach, our rowing coach back in the day, and he was always to us like a teacher's like the old person. He was always
Father figure.
as old as what he is now. He's actually 75 now. He doesn't look. He's still fit as all hell, but he was 40. He was a young man. He was younger than what we are now when he was coaching us, which was
Speak for yourself.
which was a bit of a spin out. Yeah,
Thanks, Luttsy.
he even had you covered. Maybe not you, Buzz. But it was just a great night. It was just a great night. I hadn't seen a lot of those guys for, some of them I hadn't seen for 35 years.
So it was at his house, but there was a boat involved.
He lives on the river.
Right.
And so we went to his house, then we hopped on his boat and drove Saturday afternoon an hour and a half up the river to a small pub, spent the Saturday afternoon at the pub, then came back to his house and then spent the whole night at his house. No wives, partners, anything like that. It was just the rowing crew.
Fantastic.
And then, it was. And we made that rule too. And everybody was agreeing
Everyone
about the
abided by
night,
it.
saying this would have been a totally different experience.
You didn't have one that broke rank?
No,
it happens.
No, it didn't.
That
No.
brings down the whole house of cards.
I
and that
think
happens.
any reunion you don't want someone who wasn't there, like even sporting, like Olympic, like proper sporting reunions, like you don't want your partners there.
Yeah.
No, I was going to ask, did you have was there official speeches or official?
No.
It was all casual?
Nothing like that. It was just all very casual. Oh, there was actually.
Would be a good storytelling in that, though.
Oh, it was so much fun. They made me, because I was like the captain of boats, so he pulled out the. And this was late in the night at this stage. He pulled out the old school record book or whatever from the year, which I hadn't seen that. I haven't seen that since I was at school either. And I'd completely forgotten I'd written a yearly report, like a summation of
the annual.
The annual report.
Yeah.
Could you read that? Did you read that out?
He made me read it.
Yeah.
And I actually was nervous because I was like, first of all, I don't remember writing it. It was 35 years ago. And
Who did you mention? Who didn't you mention?
Yeah, and what did I say? And it was great, actually, because, not giving myself a rap, it was excellent, actually. Gave a thorough summation of the year. And then it finished. At some point I said, I want to thank Isla Lee, and it was a really heartfelt thank you.
Your mum must have written this, I reckon.
And saying
beyond your capabilities.
You have given us, I'm confident in saying that you have given us a memory that will stay with us for the rest of our lives. And I went, wow, here we are 35 years later and we're still talking about it.
Cool.
So it was pretty cool.
You didn't go into I guarantee you that every face. It wasn't that.
Okay. But my tip for you, like even as Sue says, it's not a prop. It was a highlight for our school life. Well, you know what I mean?
If you weren't an elite athlete, I mean that's
Yes.
I'm not. You won head of the river. It was pretty good, but you lived for seeing your name in those annuals if you were a mediocre athlete.
Yeah, and it's not about that. It was about the mateship that sport creates. Like at any level, the mateship is still just as real and still just as lasting. And so my tip would be, if you do have that, and you want to get a reunion going, it took us 6 months to organise. And my tip would be just set a date 6 months from now and send it out, because that's what we did. Because if you say we want to get together in the next month, everyone's always
No
got
one can
something.
do it.
6 months out, this is what we did. Just sent the date out and said, this is the date. Everybody work around it. We only had one person who didn't turn up for whatever reason, but it was, and then that date comes along, and it was well worth it. It was like a genuine highlight. So I'd encourage you to sort of, get into it.
Nice.
The Ash, Luttsy and Susie Snackbox.
I was parking at a shopping centre on the weekend, and Cliff wasn't in the car with me, so I could park exactly how I like to park. Because Cliff and I have different theories on how we park in
What do you
shopping
mean?
centres. Well, I always go as far away as I can and just walk the extra distance. I go as far as away and I try and get next to a car so my car doesn't get dented necessarily when people open their doors. And I don't mind walking the extra 100 metres, 200 metres. I would walk
Get
an
your
extra
steps
400 metres because I already exercise a lot, so it's not a big deal to me. But Cliff, we have to go like, I don't know what type you are. We have to go like really, really close and just keep going to the closest park. I'm like, what's the point? Just park further away.
I'd go, off the top of my head, I'd go probably third. I'd go a couple more alleyways down and
Yeah.
then try and get the closest. I'd try and get smart. That's what I do.
So my theory
Depends
is
where you are.
I park the easiest place to get out. So like I'll think ahead and I'll be like, the easiest exit for me, I'll park there.
Yeah.
So rather than having to muck around trying to get out of a car park, I'll think closest to the exit.
Oh, I like that theory.
Like if we go to the airport tomorrow, I'll be parking at the airport when we go to the airport.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I'll just go straight to the top. I don't muck around.
Yeah, so
I
you
don't even look at
Yeah,
the.
no,
I
the
go,
lower
they're
ones.
there for other people.
Level 3, level 4.
They're for the lucky people.
Yeah.
you
You
know,
go straight to
I
level
just go
6.
straight to the top.
Yeah.
And also, when you do the
And work
grocery,
my way down.
when you do the groceries, like I always park in exactly the same spot almost. It's like remember the classroom when you're in a classroom, you could sit in any chair, and you
Yeah.
always sat in exactly the same chair.
Yeah.
Do you find that with supermarkets? You always park in the same spot, Eric,
Yeah.
when you do your groceries.
Yeah.
We have our habits.
I have my own spot.
But actually, it got me thinking that how you choose. Do you think that you choose skills in your not skills? That's not the right word. Traits in your partner that are the opposite to you, so that you get a genetic person that's got the best of the both, or maybe the worst of the both, but hopefully the best of the both. Like I went through all the things then that Cliff and I are different because we're very, very different. So I like the faraway park. He does a close park. I'm always on time. He's always late. I like quiet. He likes noise. And I was actually, this is actually a compliment to Cliff, and I don't usually compliment him.
Very rarely.
Very rarely.
Tune in, Cliff.
Tune in if you're listening to
If
this,
we listen to the
Cliff.
podcast.
I'm good at computers and he's not. And so I've been editing his...
Is that the compliment?
That's
There you go, mate. Now it's going to be a long time till you get another one. So enjoy that. You're good at computers and he's not.
That's not the thing.
Oh,
Right.
I've been...
right.
The sentence hadn't finished. So I've been editing his PowerPoint presentation. He's giving a speech on tomorrow night. He's really nervous, actually. He's giving a speech tomorrow night to, I think, 300 optometrists. He's an like an eye doctor, to 3 other eye people, basically. So we've been editing this PowerPoint presentation for weekend on weekend days, hours. It's crazy. But he is showing a lot of videos of his operations.
Yeah, you showed me some the other
They
day.
are
It's
not-
almost
yeah.
too much for me to look at, to be honest
Me
with you.
too.
The detail that he's into, because I'm not into detail. I'm into like broad brushstrokes of whatever. But I mean,
She wouldn't be a very good eye doctor.
that's all.
Yeah, seriously.
When I was looking at it on the weekend, and he goes, he actually doesn't usually show me things, but last night he's like, have a look at this operation. This is blah blah. And I was like, Cliff, that is like a 3 millimeter space that you're working in there. And he goes, yeah. And I go, and like he's putting little things into holes of the eyes and then peeling off. It looks like he's peeling off
I couldn't
tissue
watch it.
paper.
Yeah.
Yuck.
It
Yeah.
is mental.
Has he got like stable hands?
He's got the stablest hands.
How's his handwriting? Is it neat or messy?
It's not too bad, but I thought.
I'll tell you what he does
Yeah.
similar trait I just picked up on.
Yes.
Well, he's sounding like when he's showing you this stuff, he's using you as an audience,
Oh.
and you do that. Like you'll do that.
Oh, okay, right,
Yeah,
right.
we had this conversation last
Yes,
week
yes,
about
yes.
things I've noticed about you over the years, but Susie will test people out the same way. Like she'll ask
How
me
so?
questions she already knows the answer to see what I think of something that she's getting up to, whatever. You know what I mean?
Like what? What's an example?
Well, an example is the first time I probably ever met Suze properly. like, for reals, was when I said, "Hey, Suze, how are you?" at the Noosa Surf Club, and she turned around and said, "I think I need a life coach." And then we established only last week that by that stage she already had a life coach. So she was needing some sort of validation from me
to see what it would be like if, what would Luttsy think if I had a life coach?
And Suze has done that a lot over the years.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm still working her out. I actually say to people a lot, I said, I still don't fully understand her, which is pretty cool.
That's good. Either does Cliff.
But Cliff's doing that to you.
Yeah, checking it out. But then I thought, well, the main part that I came out with it after watching that, I'm thinking, you are so OCD. You're a bit of a pain to live with. That's the negative part because he's so OCD and tidy and detailed. Yeah. But now I see where the benefit is, because if you weren't like that, you've found a profession that actually matches all your set of skills.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine going to see your eye doctor and he's a slob and he's a shaky McStevens. He's going, what am I going to do?
Oh, geez, I had a big night last night. A little shaky today. Open your eyes. Let's have a crack here. Was it your left or your right?
The Ash, Luttsy and Susie Snackbox.
I don't know if you've ever been out and about, you've ever met someone who's really famous, but you don't know it. To you, they're just an ordinary person.
I'm trying to think.
Like, has that ever happened? And then they go, you know who that was? You were just talking to the bloody blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys are just an absolute superstar.
Back when I was a kid, before social media, I was a massive radio fan. Like, I wanted to get, I was doing community radio. And I went to a running club at the Run In at Everton Park, and would end up running with this bloke for months. We ran together on a Wednesday night running group. And then months in, realised it was Ian Skibbon from the B105 Breakfast Show, who was one of my heroes, radio heroes at that stage.
Really?
Like one day I went, what? You're Ian Skibbon?
He was a big deal.
He was a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was months of him and me becoming jogging mates.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've got a good story. I've got a good story. I was at...
Are you the famous person or was someone else?
No, someone else. I was at an International Olympic Committee meeting, an IOC meeting over in, I think it was in Moscow, and I was in the gym that morning doing some whatever weights, and an old guy was on the treadmill behind me, and he asked me, how do you get this treadmill to work? He seemed old to me. He must have been 75. So I was like showing him the technical thing, how to do it. I went to the IOC meeting. It's a hierarchical sitting in IOC meetings, so I was one of the last members on the IOC, so I was right at the back. And behind you are the honour members or honorary or patrons.
Yeah.
I turn around behind me. I see the old guy behind me. It's Henry Kissinger.
Oh, my God.
No joke.
Henry Kissinger.
Famous.
What did he do?
Famous political lobbyist, sort of. I don't know.
Big time, though.
Big time with
Like wartime?
World Wars and
Yeah,
that
he
sort
was-
of thing. Like
oh my God, he's a historic figure.
Historic.
He's bigger than Ian Skippon.
Arguably.
Why, what have you had one?
No, it happened over the weekend. You know how you'll see on TikTok or Insta now people just going around asking people random questions? Yeah, and then they put together a collage.
Yeah. What do you do for a living?
How'd you make your money? How'd you get your car? This type of thing.
Yeah.
So this girl just rocks up to this guy walking down the street in Sydney and says, well, we'll play it in a sec, but what she didn't realise, and then she's just posted the clip, and then people instantly have gone, you know who that was, don't you? And it was Baz Luhrmann.
Oh, right.
Like perhaps one of our biggest... Our most famous figures in terms of directors in the country.
And no one else looks like Baz Luhrmann.
I was say he's pretty recognisable.
Actually, yeah, it's recognisable.
He's so recognisable. What was he wearing?
He was wearing like this it's such a Baz Luhrmann outfit too. It was like this lime green leather jacket with this funky little cap, and his mustache was looking very Errol Flynn, and he looked like Baz Luhrmann.
Baz Luhrmann.
And anyway, here's what the lady did with him.
So are you single?
No,
Okay. Dating? Relationship?
I'm married.
Oh, you're married. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
During that journey of marriage, the person I'm married to and I found our own really genuine and authentic concept of what our contract to each other should be. But I think more importantly, marriage is not so much about what exists between you and another person. It's about advertising to the people that you love and care as to what the dealio is.
That's it. I hear you. What's the worst date you've ever been on?
I mean, I didn't have to date. What I do is not a job, it's a life. And every relationship I ever had just grew organically out of that.
Organically. Be open to it. Be open what comes your way. Been a pleasure?
Awesome.
Been a pleasure?
Yeah.
Till then.
Huh?
Till then.
Till
Till then, I'll be on my
I
way.
usually don't do interviews, but you know what?
Thank you very
Have you
much.
got yours?
I'm honoured. I'm honoured. I love your jacket.
Thank you.
Till then. What she said? It was a sign off. Till then.
I think it's just like
till
see
when?
ya.
I don't know.
See
It's
ya.
just like
till
catch,
next time.
Till next time.
catch you later
Wow,
type of
that's
thing.
funny.
And he goes, I normally don't do interviews.
The Ash, Luttsy and Susie Snackbox.
All right, shall we rip through a few of these? This poor old lady at Sydney who rocked up on Baz Luhrmann. Got a good interview out of him, I have to say.
He was
Yeah,
very
he opened
generous.
up, didn't
He
he?
was very generous, I thought, about relationships.
But she had no idea that she was talking to Australian cinema royalty. So who have you met who you didn't know was famous? Maddie.
I met Darren Lockyer.
So what happened there?
I was in the city at a work Christmas party and I asked for directions, and it wasn't until he started speaking that I realised it was Darren Lockyer.
You take a left on James Street.
In my clinic voice.
Was he wearing a shirt?
No, well, he was, but just an ordinary button-up.
That's right.
Yeah, usually jogs topless.
Yeah.
Darren, he's renowned for it.
Actually, I run into him all the time down at Paddington
Topless?
area. Topless.
Yeah.
He's out running.
Julianne, another footy
Hello.
player.
Did you meet?
Oh, hello. I actually used to hang out at Penrith League Club, the nightclubs when I was younger, and I had this guy was like dancing behind me, and I looked around and it was Brad Fittler, but I didn't know that Brad Fittler was a famous football player. And I just bobbed him off and went, yeah, no, thank you. And then
He was dancing up on you, was he?
You knocked back
He was-
Freddie.
he was dancing behind me, yeah. And my girlfriends, they're like, do you know who that was? I went, yeah, no. And I tell my daughters that story now when we watch the Origin, and they looked at my dad and they went, they looked at their dad and they went, oh, do you mean we could have had a famous dad?
Doesn't work like that, kids.
Wow.
Oh, dear.
Tim, who did you meet?
Donatella Versace. I met her in Ibiza. I was basically coming home from the clubs, and it was about 6:30 in the morning, and it was the last sort of outdoor pub shack that I'd stop by on the way home and grab a couple of bottles of Coke and some breakfast for myself and the hotel manager to hang out with before I got crashing out. And she offered me a cigarette and took a cigarette. She started chatting to me and felt a few moves coming on, and I was just in a rush to get my warm bacon and egg burgers and Coke back to the hotel and walked away. And as I'm walking away, the barmaid said, mate, you know who that is? And I said, no. She said, it's Donatella Versace.
You blew it. You blew it. How was the bacon and egg roll? Better been worth it.
Yeah.
Look, it probably looked in better shape than her, to be honest.
I mean, good luck beating that one, Kelly.
Oh, Kel.
Oh, my gosh, how can I beat that? Look, I'll try. I'll give it away at the end who it was. I was travelling on my own, arrived at LAX. I was in customs. I sort of recognised a radio announcer, a couple of people in front of me. By that, I was peeking out because I was going to miss my connecting flight. Anyway, this radio announcer was just lovely. He let me go in front of him, and then we finally got through customs, and he waited at the bag collection area with me because my bag wasn't coming through. And then he's like, oh, come on, we'll get you through. And he helped me to which way I needed to go to get my connecting flight, and we wished each other well. And it was Luttsy.
A side that most people don't get to see that we see every day. Oh,
Yeah,
But we were asking for famous encounters, Kelly.
The Ash, Luttsy and Susie Snackbox.